Hey viewers, welcome to my, game log, game blog, game whatever, I don't know. Carnelian Flare, level 50, triple fire blaster build. Have you ever just been checking out the forums for Homecoming and seeing somebody else's build that they put together and thought, does this thing even work? Does this thing play very well? And yeah, this thing sounds great on paper, but does it actually perform? And how much does this thing cost? And is this only good at level 50 and incarnate stuff, or could this thing actually do something at low levels? Well, I'm going to try to answer this question. It started a couple weeks ago when I was on the forums for the Blaster archetype, and I saw this post by Snarky. And Snarky had put together this thought. I kind of guess it sounded like a thought experiment to start about doing a a fire cubed blaster from the way he's got it posted here. And he went ahead and posted a build which looked pretty good. Sounds kind of fun. I mean, from what I know about fire, it's damage, right? And so he's got fire all over the place. The one drawback, at least for me, was the expense of this thing. As I was going through it, he's got, I think, three winter sets, a purple set, and a couple of blaster ATO sets, plus some Hamios, et cetera, et cetera. Just pricing that out, if you didn't have a big old bankroll behind your characters, you're easily looking at $500 million to put this build together. Easily. Now, of course, you can go and farm this or work the market and get your money eventually, but if you're just trying to play and put this thing together, super expensive build. That's kind of one of my I guess pet peeves, if you will, about some of the posts I see. And not knocking Snarky here, but just a lot of people will post up stuff that is so expensive. It's in my opinion a little bit unrealistic. Obviously if you have the money, go for it, but put it out there as sort of general to anybody who's just coming in the game. Something like this is out of reach for most new players. But again, I assume Snarky's got the cash, so no big deal for him. But for me, I was like, well, triple fire sounds fun, but do I want to drop $500 million? I could get the money. I've got plenty of alts and farmers and such that I could do it, but I just thought, it's too much effort for an unknown. Then about a week or so later, another poster, Chelsea Rorick, put together a different build and posted it up, similar to what Snarky has, triple fire. The big difference here, at least on paper, is that this is much cheaper. The build that Chelsea has, I priced it out, it's probably about 200 million roughly if I had to buy everything from scratch, maybe a little bit more. Um, so I went ahead and decided, I want to try this and I want to try this build that Chelsea's got here. So I rated my base bins, had my farmer, throw some cash at this new alt, and I went ahead and power leveled up a new character following Chelsea's build. And that character's build looks like this. It is based upon Chelsea's, and there we go. Switch this over. As you can see, lots of six slotted attacks, which is primarily for the defensive bonuses. This isn't my build, right? This is Chelsea's build, so I'm just kind of trying to put myself in their mind space. So they were going for, it looks like, a lot of defense. And if you look at the numbers over here, we got energy and negative at about 42% defense. Range defenses are at 48. And fire cold's 20 something. The rest of the stuff is in the mid to high teens. So a lot of defense. So you can get that by using a lot of these six slotted sets like artillery and thunderstrike, etc. So there's lots of reasons for the six slotting. The other thing I noticed is that the build has a lot of defensive, unique IOs. Things like Numena's Convalescence, the regen and recovery. You got the Panacea plus hit points and endurance. You've got the power transfer, chance for self heal. You've got shield walls, unique. You've got steadfast protection. You got gladiator's armor. You've got one of the Aegis. Where is it over here? Aegis status resistance, psi resistance. So a lot of the defensive procs. There were a few other offensive damage procs, but most of it seems to be based upon survival from what I can see. I think Snarky's build was more raw damage and damage procs, if I recall. So that would probably be the most fundamental difference between the two builds on paper. But again, that was on paper, so I wanted to see what would this thing do in practice, in real game, environments. Because a lot of people put together these mids builds with money's not an object, leveling up's not an object, and it's this perfect level 50 incarnated beast. But how does it really play, in actual game terms and at multiple levels? So that was my other goal, was to take on someone else's build that I've never seen before. I don't know Chelsea, I don't know Snarky, and make a character with someone else's thoughts, someone else's plans, and then play it at various levels. So I'm going to play my character in the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and then 50 probably without incarnates and then with incarnates, and just record these game sessions to see how this character handles, this build, I should say, handles those types of environments. I will say, from what I can tell, Chelsea's build was made with leveling up in mind. That's another thing I'll see in a lot of mids builds, is that on paper it's great by level 50, but if you actually build it the way it's designed and then play it at those lower levels, you're missing a lot of your key powers, and you kind of standing around not able to do much. So this the way I can tell, it was built with leveling up in mind. So I can see the different stages. You're adding more powers, adding more abilities. That makes it stronger and stronger gradually, rather than just one massive, dump of powers at the end or whatever in slots. So anyway, it looks pretty promising from that. Overall, I like what I saw, but there are a few things I would have done different. Just, and I'm not gonna knock Chelsea here because, hey, I don't have to play the build, but I'm choosing to. But a couple things I would have done differently, I think. The big one for me, and this is just my own rule of thumb, whenever I'm designing a new build, and I'm not sure if you guys can see this too well, but the recovery to end drain ratio, I always try to make that about a 2 to 1, if not better, because I like to burn powers. I like to click and shoot and blast and punch and smash stuff. So I'm always burning through endurance. And if my recovery cannot keep up with that, that to me is a bad build, because I've had builds and it frustrates me where they run out of endurance and you're just standing there and you can't do anything, especially like in a longer fight. So it sucks. Or if you run into something that end drains, you're really screwed. That's why I have problems with like ice control and what was it, dark armor. Those things are just end hogs. But anyway, this build's a little bit on the end heavy side because we got a 3.8 recovery versus about a 2 end drain. So it's a little bit under the 2 to 1. That's what makes me nervous, especially in lower level play, because you don't have all your tools like consume at level 28. That won't be available in the teens and early 20s. So I won't be able to rely upon that to gain endurance back. So that's one of my drawbacks as I'm looking at this build. Um, Another thing I think is there's a fairly decent emphasis on melee, which is fine. I don't have a problem going melee, but there's Fire Sword and Fire Sword Circle. You got Hot Feet, you got Infernal, you got Tough. Um, but then Consume should be, and again, my opinion, should be better slotted to take advantage of being in melee to get that extra endurance. The other thing is, if you're planning on being in melee so much, why not take Combustion? There's another PBAOE that could be nice to unload on some people. Maybe that instead of, I don't know, Hot Feet. Well, I don't know, something else I could probably drop if I really went through this. So that was just something I was thinking about. Another thing that, again, my opinion, something I probably wouldn't have done, is picking Fly. Here it is sitting at level 8. The way I typically would do this is, a lot of my characters, I don't even take a pure travel power anymore, because there's so much free and easy travel with teleportation, team transport, uh, jetpacks, jump packs. You can get around the city so easily now. It's a joke. So the only travels I typically take would be something like hover, for instance, or combat jumping, which this build does have. And I would have those earlier, and I would have hover slotted and enough flight speed slotted that this is actually a decent travel power if you've ever tried this or not tried this. Do the hover plus one of your jump packs that you can get for free. You combine those, you hit jump, jump, jump as you're hovering. You can it's pretty close to fly speed, so you can get around most city zones just doing that. If you need it, because once you're into a an actual map, you're not going to have him fly on. So fly to me is sort of a wasted pick. It's a waste of endurance. It's going to bleed your endurance if you're in a fight with it on. So for me, I would have not picked this. I would have just had hover earlier. Maybe that's where another thing that again, sorry Chelsea, I'm not trying to slam you. I would have liked to see more from the flame mastery. Like melt armor would have been nice. So I could have easily dropped fly, grabbed melt armor, moved a couple other slots around, and maximized, some of that firing goodness. I think bonfire's a little bit underslotted. It's a big, heavy endurance drain, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Bonfire info. Bonfire's endurance is 16 and a quarter and has no endurance reduction on it. So that's gonna, suck out about what 1/6 of your endurance is throwing that down there. Another thing I'm noticing, and I don't know if this in-game is wrong or not. I thought Cauterizing Aura has to hit to do the damage. I think it's kind of got a weird thing. I think it maybe has the recovery and the healing is not based upon hit, but the damage is. And what I think I noticed as I was just messing around with this new build a few minutes ago was that the Numinas that's slotted in here did not seem to fire until I was actually in melee range and damaging targets. So I think that the Numinas is being triggered by a to hit check. But there's no accuracy in the Cauterizing Aura. It takes accurate sets. It does have accuracy here, so but the build itself doesn't have any. So I can see a lot of missing happening with Cauterizing Aura. So you're not going to get that damage that it does, and you're going to have a harder time getting the Numina's boost against like +4 level mobs. So I think that's something I would tweak myself. I don't like three slotting stamina at all. I would maybe go with these two, shift that slot out of here because I think you can get enough recovery from cauterizing. Maybe throw something like a miracle down here and health to get more recovery. Again, nitpicky stuff, but is the regen boost between these two slots worth, you know, having the third slot in here? Maybe. I don't know. But I could have easily, moved that around and gotten some more stuff. The other thing, weave. Here's one of my pet peeves is people, in my opinion, over chase set bonuses. Like here you went 6 slotting weave. You're already ED capping, defense, endurance, etc. It doesn't need recharge really. Yet you've got all 6 slots in there to get an extra 2.5% ranged. You know, that's awfully heavy slotting for a power that's really not gonna, in and of itself, it's giving you what about 5% defense plus is that worth it? I guess maybe. But maybe I could peel off a slot here, sacrifice the 2.5% defense, and I don't know, maybe throw another, maybe a stead. What is it? The scaling, what is it? Reactive defense or whatever it is, scaling resistance. That could have given me some more survivability. Throw that in combat jumping. Anyway, a couple things like that I would have done differently, but I want to try this. So again, that's sort of part of the fun of this is I'm gonna try somebody else's build. So obviously, whatever Chelsea was thinking when this was put together, I don't know. I'm just telling you things that I would do differently, but I'm not. I'm gonna do what I see here. Although there is one caveat to that, is that I did tweak something here in the build, and I did tweak a couple things in the actual character, which I'll show you in a second. Um, Here in the build, you can see Chelsea's original build didn't have anything in sprint, rest, hurdle, swift. Maybe it's assumed that you should either not slot them or put the basic stuff. But for me, I put the fly speed in Swift, and if you plus 5 that, which I've done, that'll boost up Hover's speed because Hover does not have any slotting for speed over here. So that'll help just sort of in combat maneuverability speed with that. Sprint was not slotted, so I threw in a stealth proc because hey, what's a blaster without stealth? So I did that, a little bit difference, and hurdle jump. Rest really doesn't need it, but I threw the interrupt in there just because that's one thing. If I ever do use rest, is it gets interrupted. That sucks. So anyway, I got that. The other thing I'm not 100% sure with the original build is all the numbers you see over here are based upon these things being plus 5 slotted. I don't plus 5 slot all of my enhancements. I usually attune most of them. The only ones I plus 5 slot would be the singletons, like the Gaussians here. That would be a plus 5 slot because there's no set bonuses. I'll attune most of the other stuff because I want to have access to those powers, their set bonuses throughout the level range. Because I'll do a lot of, pug playing. I'll play a lot of, strike forces, task forces, exemplary and malefactoring, up and down. So I want to have full access to all my stuff at any level. Whereas if I had all 50 plus 5s, you're going to see deterioration of some of the bonuses because as I understand, let's say I have a level 50 enhancement over here and I'm playing at level 30, that enhancement doesn't count as is, especially if I don't have that power. So you don't get all the bonuses. So if you have the attuned versions leveling up and down with you, your access to all the power bonuses with the sets comes with you as well. So when I pug like that, I'll usually have a lot more ability than, let's say, if you're just playing raw, like level 50 plus 5s. At least, again, that's the way I understand how it works that way. So anyway, that's what you'll see with my build. And then, like I said, there's a couple other things I did tweak with choices of some of these singletons, which I'll show you in a second. But note here that Ring of Fire accuracy, boxing accuracy, consume accuracy, fly is endurance. I did tweak some of those. So let me go ahead and show you the actual build here. Mids. There it is. All right, so here is Carnelian Flare. And let me go ahead and open up her enhancement trays. So as you can see, I've picked all of the sets that Chelsea's build had. Most everything is attuned, as I just was mentioning. Uh, the only things that are plus 5 are the singletons, like you see here in aim, build up, etc. And that gives me max bonus for those individuals where there is no set bonus with just one. Where I deviated from the original build was in those accuracy only or endurance only power that I was just highlighting with mids. For instance, Ring of Fire, you'll see I put a Trap of the Hunter accuracy immobilize and I plus 5'd it. So it gives me a little bit more control power with that control, that immobilize rather than just straight accuracy. My dog's going off about somebody outside. Sorry about that. And then something like Consume here, I did similar. I had where Chelsea's build originally just had straight accuracy. I went with accuracy recharge because I want to get a little bit more out of this power than just straight, hitting something. I want to be able to maximize how many times I hit. So I put the recharge in there. The other one I tweaked. I left boxing as plus 5. But fly, I used a soaring endurance fly, so I got the fly speed boost, and I got the endurance reduction as well. I'm not going to have this on, but when I'm traveling outside of a zone for the most part, or outside of a mission, so I'd like to have some more speed in there, and I'm not really concerned about endurance as I'm flying around, one of the zones. So that was another change that I made from the original build. I don't think it violates the intention, at least I hope not. Sorry, Chelsea, if it did. Uh, but so I'm a little bit lower on accuracy on the Ring of Fire and Consume, but I'm making up, I think, because I don't think I have to worry too much about accuracy because I have aim and build up when I want to hit something. So this will help Consume come up faster, get that recovery, that endurance back sooner, which is one of my complaints. And this, if I want to hit something, I don't just want to hit it, I want to immobilize it. Usually I'm only using Ring of Fire on either a flying target, although I'm not sure Ring of Fire actually has the minus fly on it, or like an AV that's running around. I want to be able to immobilize it and keep it in place. So if I get a little bit more immobilization oomph out of it, that'll be nice. And then here's my other change that I made, or not change, but Chelsea's build didn't specify. So I threw a Celerity Stealth into Sprint. So that's what you're seeing there. But everything else is, I believe, on the money for what the build said. All right. So at this point, I have a level 50 character. I don't have incarnates. Okay, I didn't do anything with incarnates at this point. You can see they're not even started. I just hit 50 before I made this video, so I'm only a smidge into vet level 1. I'm not going to unlock incarnates right away because I'm going to start with the lower level stuff. I plan on, recording the teen experiences, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the pre-incarnate 50, and then the post-incarnate 50. So by the time I kind of get all that, I'll have my incarnates unlocked, and if I need to, I can just, power level this character some more and get those incarnates unlocked sooner. I'll probably only worry about unlocking up to tier 3s on those, which usually is around vet level 12, I think it takes, roughly, to get all 6 of your incarnates unlocked in tier 3 to memory serves. So that won't take that long, especially if I'm playing at the lower levels anyway. And then by playing at lower levels, I'll be able to get some threads, and that sort of, drops as part of defeating foes. All right, I think I covered all the basics of what I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, I'm going to shut this video, kill the video here, and then I'll worry about doing some leveling and playing with the next one. All right, thanks for checking this out. I'll catch you later.